Currently, I'm undergoing some testing for inner ear problem. And one of the things that they have you do is close your eyes and just stand. And the purpose of the test is to see if you're off balance. Is your equilibrium going to lean you to the left or to the right, which can be indicative of which ear the problem is in. But ultimately, it's about balance. And the other day, I heard a really interesting quote about balance that gave me pause for thought and made me stop and think about the fact that none of us are or ever can be truly balanced. So this test that I have to undergo is for different inner ear problems, different types of vertigo, one illness called Meniere's disease. And like I said, one of the tests is you close your eyes and you stand with your 2 feet together and they watch to see which way your body goes. It's kind of a balance test. We're familiar with balance test when it comes to, standing on one foot. We've seen videos of people having to undergo DUI tests at traffic stops, or if you've ever done any type of athletic work, you may have had to, or athletic skills, you may have had to stand on a balance beam or something to that effect. Or if you did dance, you may have had to stand on one foot or stand on point. But nonetheless, all of these things are designed to check our balance. And it was an interview that I saw with Renée Goldsberry, who was the originator of the role of Angelica in Hamilton on Broadway, and Kelly Clarkson. And she brought up an interesting point about balance.
Hi, ladies. I'm Shy, and I'm so excited to welcome you to Coffee, Cocktails, and Clarity. As a woman navigating my own journey, I've experienced the ups and downs, the triumphs and challenges that come with being a woman in today's world. I created this podcast as a space for us to have authentic conversations and connections, to share stories and inspire each other. Let's break down barriers, celebrate our successes, and support one another on this journey together. So, take a sip, sit back, and let's have a chat.
Before I get to that, yes, I am sick, so I do sound funny today. I'm fighting a bad cold. So my next couple of episodes might sound a little bit funky, but that's okay. Stick with me. Today I'm drinking something nice and hot because it is getting really cold and windy here in Atlanta. So I have my decaf Cafe Bustelo, my favorite coffee, and I have my International Delight, no sugar added caramel macchiato creamer because I needed something rich and creamy and delicious. So that's what I'm drinking today. And what are you drinking on this day? I hope it is something that keeps you nice and warm and makes you feel good. So let me take a sip, you take your sip, and then we'll continue. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. I'll probably be drinking it in the next episode too, because it's that good. Anyway, so this interview that took place between Renée and Kelly, because they're my besties in my head, it was really interesting because one of the things that Kelly Clarkson asked her was, you're a Broadway star. She was in the process of doing an album. Renée Goldsberry was doing an album over the last 5 years. She's also a mom to, I believe she had 2 children. And she was also doing documentaries and all these other different things. And so Kelly was like, how do you stay balanced? And Renée talked about a number of different things. And one of the things that she talked about was that balance can be a construct. So we know that there's racism as a construct. We know a lot of different things can be a construct of man or things that people put out there to be accepted as a normal or something we can conform to. And so she said that she felt like she had to redefine balance in a way. And I'm just basically just kind of restating or I'm trying to find the right but my ADHD is really kicking off right now. But basically, trying to restate what she said. That's the word I'm looking for. But she basically said that when it came to balance for her, she realized that she was not balanced. She was like, because it's almost impossible for us to have it all. Not that you can't have everything, but you can't be completely balanced, because something is going to require more of your attention at any given time than another. And that's not necessarily being balanced. Being balanced means everything gets your attention all at one time. So she said, I find myself in the act of balancing. She goes, so sometimes I'm going to be off balance. Sometimes I'm going to be leaning one way versus another. And I thought that was a very powerful statement, because so many times we think that we're balanced. Just like, dealing with vertigo, you stand up and you think that you're going to be okay to walk and move forward, or you turn around and you think you're going to be okay turning left or turning right. And all of a sudden you find yourself stumbling, or you find the world spinning, or you're like, ooh, I have to sit down. Sometimes in life, we're not as balanced as we would like to be. So we are trying to, to perfect the art of balancing. And I want you to think about that for a moment, because especially as women, and if you happen to be a woman of color, you know this is especially true, but especially as women, we are often tasked with, it is often forced upon us, it is often implied, required, assumed, whatever word you want to put to it, that we are balanced or know how to balance our lives. That means we know how to balance being a wife, a spouse, a partner, or a girlfriend, however you define your relationship. That means that we are often balancing the needs of the children that we care for, whether they're biologically ours or if they're ours in love. We are often required to balance being caregivers to those in our life, whether they're family or friends we've made family. We are required to be balanced when it comes to pursuing our careers and work. And more often than not, if something needs to be sacrificed, then we have to look at those other categories for sacrifice, because your career should come first, or you sacrifice your career because your family should come first. We are forced to be balanced when it comes to being a daughter, being a sister, being a niece, being a cousin, being all these different labels and roles. And that's not even including the hobbies and activities that we participate in. If you are active in your congregation, if you are active in your community, if you are choosing to start a nonprofit organization, if you're starting your own business or have your own business, all these different things. And everybody says, oh, you can have it all and you can be balanced. I don't know about you, but I can tell you right now, this cold that I'm fighting right now didn't come just out of the blue. I can't even blame my husband as my little incubator from all the little incubators that he's around every day at school. I can't even blame that. You know why? Because I wasn't balanced in the last several weeks. There was a lot going on in my life, and there were projects to be done for clients. There was things that I had to do to prepare for a major speaking event. There were other things that I was working on, client consultations, stress in my just day-to-day life, all these things. Because you're dealing with it too. So can we just stop? Let's stop telling ourselves that we are balanced, or we're trying to find balance. Because the reality is, we may never find balance. Whether you work for yourself, whether you're retired, whether you're working for an employer, whether you are in a family arrangement of some sort, Just being friends, we are never balanced. You could be retired, you're never balanced because something is always going to require you to give more attention than the other. Think of a gymnast on a balance beam. We have seen some amazing, amazing skills by some phenomenal gymnasts, male and female. But when you think about the female gymnast, they have to balance such things as having extra weight on their bodies because of their hips or their breasts, things of that nature, right? So there's the physical that is there, as well as the mental balance, the right footing on the balance beam. But when you think about them being on the balance beam, they might be standing on it, but I guarantee you they're not fully balanced. They're giving the perception of being fully balanced. And what I mean by that is their toes, their feet are put on the balance beam in such a way that their toes are kind of gripping the side of the balance beam. They learn how to adjust their bodies ever so slightly so they look balanced and not look way off. They put their arms out. They're almost in a constant state of motion, which gives the perception that they're always balanced. And then when they do some skills that require them to be still, they only have to be still for like 1 or 2 seconds. So it's not like they have to be still and maintain that position for 5 minutes. That's not being balanced. That's balancing. That's the act of balancing. So let's all stop calling ourselves balanced. Let's all stop trying to pursue being balanced in our lives. And let's continue to pursue the act of balancing, realizing that some things are going to require more attention from us than others. There are going to be times when you will be able to keep moving forward and no problems at all because you're able to juggle everything, so to speak. And then there's other times you will stop, and for a second or two, you're going to be weighing which way you need to go and what you need to do. And then there's times when you're going to be able to stop and you're going to take a quick breath, and then something is going to come at you before you have to keep going again to try to maintain some form of the act of balancing. Let's stop putting extra pressure on ourselves to act like superwomen, to act like we can have it all and that there are no consequences for having it all. Because there are consequences. Our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health. Somebody somewhere is not going to get the time that we would want to give them the way that we want to give it to them. But most of the time, when we fight to be well balanced, it's at the cost of ourselves. I am not saying you have to be selfish. Yes, I am. You got to be a little selfish. Because if you're going to take time to care for yourself, that means you do have to be a little bit selfish. So that can look like setting boundaries. Setting boundaries for those that you're around, even for your family. There's times when you'll have to say no, and that's the full and complete sentence. It could be that you have to act selfishly by setting time aside so you can go to the doctor instead of constantly running everyone else to the doctor. Sometimes that selfishness looks like, I need to take 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes to myself just to sit and to breathe in and to breathe out and have a woosah moment. That's not necessarily self-care. It's a part of it. But what it does is it allows you the opportunity to figure out, where do you want to move to next? Even on balance beams, gymnasts carefully step forward plotting their next step so that they can stay in the act of balancing while they're moving forward or flipping backwards. When undergoing hearing tests, that's the one time they don't want you to fight your body in trying to balance itself. They want you to let your body do the act of balancing to see where it goes and perhaps where it may need help. Perhaps it's overcompensating in one area because it's trying to make up for a deficit in another. And then that's what they look to repair and fix. So your body can go back to the act of balancing without overcorrecting. So you can be a little bit selfish, which is the act of balancing without overcorrecting, which means going overboard. The act of balancing means that we say, okay, I might have to work late this night to get this project done, but I'm not going to do this every night, every week. The act of balancing means that I'm going to make time to spend one-on-one time with each one of my children or with the one that I share my life with. Or I'm going to make the time to call my parents, my siblings, my sister friends, because they also need some encouragement too, and I need to make sure I'm staying in touch. Maybe it's saying, okay, part of that is I need to take a day aside where I sit down and I do nothing but text the people that have crossed my mind. Or I need to sit and journal. I need to just sit. Whatever the act of balancing looks like for you, you'll figure it out. And eventually it'll become whole and complete for you. You'll get it all the way around. But remember, you will never, ever be fully balanced. You will always be in motion, and you will always be doing the motion, the act of balancing. And you know what? That's perfectly okay, because we're not perfect. We're not going to keep trying to force ourselves into this perfect model of what a woman should be in any category, whether you're single, married, divorced, widowed, whatever. No, we're going to define ourselves for ourselves. And part of that definition is being perfectly imperfect, showing up the way we are, and deciding what acts we're going to do, what steps we're going to carefully take, so that we're always in motion, but doing it in a way that allows us to continue to do the act of balancing rather than forcing ourselves to do something that's dang near impossible, which is to be completely balanced in every way.
Whether it's our first conversation or we've been talking for a while, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. While you finish your beverage, take some time to meditate on today's conversation and journal your thoughts and feelings. If you like today's conversation and you haven't already done so, please subscribe to and review my podcast, then download this episode. Don't forget to join my fan page on fanlist.com/coffee cocktails clarity, where you can share your thoughts on the episode, ask questions, or share your story. You never know, I may feature you in a future episode, with your consent, of course. You can also follow me on social media. The links will be in the show notes. I hope our chat helped you to see things more clearly. I always enjoy talking with you, so let's take some time for us to get together again soon for some coffee, cocktails, and clarity.